Okay, so I think we are live. As always, I want to check out the audio here to make sure that it's working. Let me know, you guys, as you are coming in, if you can hear me okay, and we will go ahead and get started. Let me know if you can hear me all right. Yeah, sounds like the audio is working well. Okay, sweet. Well, welcome back, everybody, to another Woodland Pools Q&A live stream. So today what we're going to do is the same format we've been doing in the past. What we'll do is we have a few different things that we're going to talk about today. So if you're watching this in a replay, I'm going to go ahead and add chapters in the bottom so you can skip to the different sections that you're interested in, and you can jump around in that way. And for those of you that are joining us live, a few things we're going to go over today. We're going to look at a site that Pi has put together here for some technical discussions. We'll talk about that. We will get into adaHandle's Twitter space that they did on personalization. Of course, with everything going on with the banks, we'll take a look at some of the updates going on there. And I wanted to finish off by talking about Cardano node version 135.6, which introduces dynamic peer-to-peer networking. So several different things we want to dig into there. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. The way that we're going to do it is similar to the way that we've been doing the live streams the past few. We'll go through these different topics. In the past, we did this sort of a Q&A style where it was just whatever questions you guys had that sort of dictated how long we went. But this time I'm trying to keep them shorter. The past one went about an hour anyway, but I want to try and keep them shorter. We'll go through these different things. If you guys have questions along the way, we'll answer those. But what I'm thinking is I'm going to try and get it closer to 30 to 45 minutes so those watching on the replay don't have as long of a sit down to show up to. So also along the way, if we have any specific videos that correspond to the stuff that we're talking about, I'll link them in the chat and I'll put them in the comments. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Oh yeah, I do want to say normally we put these videos out on Sundays, but for those of you that follow us on Twitter, look at this, let's load up here. Yeah, this is kind of cool. So fun fact, the stake pool is actually named after my favorite tree. I've never actually been to the town of Aspen before, but I got out there last weekend and it was a long drive back. So we pushed back our weekly report by one day, and so that's why we're doing it today on Monday. If you don't follow us on Twitter, you should definitely do so, because there's all different kinds of stuff that I tweet out and retweet there that doesn't make it to the videos because the videos can only be so long. So a lot of it is about different like conferences and projects and things going on, updates in the network, and some of it is just, you know, beautiful pictures of woodland areas. So follow us on Twitter if you're not already. Here is our Twitter account, and it's also linked in the description below. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I wanted to talk about is Pi Lanningham, who is the CTO of SundaySwap and is a long friend of the channel, has put together this cool blog where basically he's going to be writing about different technical Cardano topics. So a lot of you obviously find us through YouTube because you like watching these different videos. But if you also enjoy reading about some of these technical topics, for example, here he did a breakdown of Djed. He has this blog that he's put out at 314pool.com, 314 of course being Pi. And the way that he's doing it, I think this is actually kind of a clever way to incentivize people to delegate to smaller pools, is that in order to read these blog entries, you need to be delegated to a pool that is at least the size of Pi's 314 pool or smaller. So right now his pool is sitting at 2.6 million ADA. So if you're delegated to a very small pool, you can come to 314pool.com. You verify with your wallet. You don't have to pay anything. You just verify by signing a payload, and then you'll get access to some of these blog entries here, or rather, access to all these blog entries as they're written. So I thought that was really cool and a cool way to kind of like incentivize people to be delegating to smaller pools. And of course, the other thing is as his pool grows, then more and more pools fit under that threshold. So right now, ours would not qualify. We're just at about over 6 million. Let me actually pull up the Woodland pools. So right now, let's see here where we're at exactly. There we go. So we're at about 6.3 million right now. So yeah, as these fluctuate up and down, if you're delegated to Woodland pools, you may or may not be able to access this blog. But anyway, I wanted to highlight it. I thought it was a cool thing that he's putting together. Yeah. Oh, and then one thing that Pi mentioned that he wanted me to ask you guys is let me know either here live or if you're watching this on the replay, what are some different topics you'd like to see him dig into for this blog? If any of you have seen him, we did an interview with Pi a while back. He's really good at breaking down technical topics, so props to him. And let me know down below anything that you'd like me to pass along to him for topics that you would like to see him dig into. So that is that. Next, let's move on and talk about personalization with adaHandle. So adaHandle, as a reminder, so they put out this space a little like maybe 4 days ago. As a reminder, adaHandle, which we've covered several times on the channel, is a way for you to be able to send to a human readable address instead of having to type it all the way out. So let's take a look here. So one of the things they're talking about is this handle.me site is going to change a lot with personalization. And let me go over some of the highlights here. I'll link this Twitter space down below as well. This is the adaHandle Twitter space. There we go. So a couple of highlights from here. So personalization, the idea here is that they want to make it such that your adaHandle can serve as more than just a way for you to be able to send funds in an easy and human readable way. The idea is that what you can do is you can have it personalized. Think of it sort of like your like user or account settings in a traditional website, where you can choose preferences that you like and how you want your name to show up and maybe a background and stuff like that. They want to bring that idea to the experience that we have across Web3, and they dug into a lot of the different things here, but some of the takeaways that I thought were kind of cool, they're looking at it in terms of digital identity and the way that we represent ourselves online. I know they've been talking a lot with the people from Atala Prism, and they're the ones, that is IOG's project for DIDs and digital identities. So the first thing they want to do is this handle.me is going to get a complete overhaul. And then from here, you're going to be able to come and verify that you own an adaHandle and do certain amounts of like starting point personalizations. The first one they have is what they're calling their handle designer. So the handle designer, you're basically going to be able to assign yourself a profile picture. And the way that that's going to work is you can do a profile picture that is tied to your adaHandle, and that profile picture can be from any of the NFTs that you have in the same wallet where your adaHandle resides. So the thing is how right now, when you come to different websites, if you remember when you go to like different sites like SundaySwap or Wing Riders, things like that, how your adaHandle will sometimes show up in the top corner, like your actual like $ adaHandle itself. The idea is to have that same kind of mechanism so that when you go to these different sites, instead of just your adaHandle showing up, you could have like a certain profile picture that follows you from site to site. And the cool thing is that this is, of course, totally pseudonymous. So you have a way of, and this is the whole notion of digital identity, where you have a way of identifying yourself and the identity that you want to have online, but only disclosing as much information as you want to. So for example, let's say you're really into Disco Solaris. I know Calvin, from SundaySwap is really into Disco Solaris, and let's say that is like a profile picture that you want to have. You could have your adaHandle, you could have it tied to a profile picture of an NFT that you own from Disco Solaris, and that could show up on every page that you visit that has the integration with the new adaHandle standard. But that doesn't necessarily mean that anybody knows who you actually are, but you can now have a consistent representation of yourself online across all the different integrations that are going to have. So I thought that was pretty cool. At first, rather, the NFT projects that you can pick your profile from are going to be from a list of approved NFT projects. At first, they are going to select that list of projects, and then moving forward, they're going to move it to a DAO mechanism where they can be approved. The reason why they're doing any kind of approval at all, they went into a bit of detail about this, is that the same way how they had to do some kind of filtering of the actual adaHandles that you could mint to make sure that there weren't any that were maybe like illegal or highly offensive or anything like that. Similarly, they want to do some kind of filtering for what the profile picture can be, not so much because they're as concerned about it, but because these integrating partners are going to be gatekeepers if there's certain things that they don't want posted there. So it's going to start off with a smaller group, and then it will be passed to some kind of a DAO or voting structure where people can vote additional projects in that you can use as a profile picture. What else? We talked about how you'll be able to set like a background. The other thing that's kind of cool too is that you'll be able to also set social links. So for example, for us, we could have our Woodland Pools adaHandle, and then we could have that maybe also linked to our Twitter account or to our YouTube page or things like that. So kind of cool, again, like a user settings or a user profile on a Web 2 kind of app. but now you can take it with you across all integrating projects that integrate with the adaHandle standard. So a couple things about how that's going to work. First one is the way this is going to work, and the way that you can add or remove this stuff is it's going to be powered by CIP68. I actually probably should do a deep dive video into how CIP68 is going to work. But the basic idea of CIP68 is that whereas NFTs up until this point, the whole idea was that they were immutable and then they could not be changed. CIP68 takes the concept where you can have a certain part of it that's immutable, and that's what resides in your wallet, and that one you have full ownership of. And then there's also going to be a reference NFT that is tied to that one, that is held somewhere else, and that one, the project that manages that NFT, can update the metadata on that one. And depending on what they update there, then different integrating pages or sites or games or whatever can then represent the NFT that you're holding differently based on the updates that are done to the reference NFT. So the way that this would work for adaHandle is that you would have your actual adaHandle sitting in your wallet. There would be a reference NFT that adaHandle would have control over. And then when you come to handle.me and then you build out your personalizations, those things get added to the reference NFT, and these things are of course tied together through the new adaHandle standard, and actually through CIP68 and the way that it's all specified there. And so then when you go to the different sites, you would say you would log in. You would not log in, but you would connect your wallet. You would say, I have this adaHandle. You'd confirm that you own this adaHandle, and then using the CIP68 standard, they would look up the matching paired reference NFT that adaHandle is holding, and that's how they'd be able to get your information and display it in that way. So that's how CIP68 is going to work. Now, of course, for those of you that are familiar with NFTs and CIP25, which is the original NFTs, CIP68, which is what we're talking about that enables all this new functionality. If you want to take advantage of personalization and some of these other things, you're going to have to convert your CIP25 adaHandle into a CIP68 adaHandle, and they're going to streamline that whole process, I'm sure, on how to do that. But it's important to keep in mind that that is purely opt-in. You only need to do that if you want to take advantage of things like personalization and some of this new stuff that's coming out. You do not have to ever upgrade your adaHandle if you don't want to. All the CIP25 adaHandle NFTs will continue functioning as normal. And also this applies where if you got like a bunch of different NFTs, then maybe you want to upgrade some of them and not others. So some things to keep in mind there. Let's before we move on, let's take a look at any questions we got here. So let's take a look. Okay, so Ernest was saying, seems like a nice blog. Oh, this is talking about Pi's blog here. What the heck, we don't even qualify to see the post. Yeah, I mean, yeah, so it's one of those, but that's the thing, right, is that like, you know, and that's the whole thing about how stake pools and their stake goes up and down on both sides. When he first published it, I think we were at like 6 million, and then the Pi pool was at like 7 or 8 million. So when he first told me about it, we did qualify for it. But then our stake has gone up a little bit, theirs has gone down a little bit. So, you know, it's not a perfect mechanism, but I do think it's a really cool idea. And I don't know, I think Pi's a really cool dude, so always happy to give shout outs to friends of the channel. You know, I'm a big fan of people that are positive role models in the ecosystem who like to have open discussions and help people learn, and I think Pi's a good dude. So yeah, I mean, right now if you're delegated to ASPEN, you can't read the posts that are on here, but who knows, as his pool grows then you'll be able to, or if you're delegated to a smaller pool then you can. Pixelated Dreams, hello, tuning in from Los Angeles. What's going on, man? I haven't been to LA in so long. I want to go back and eat some delicious donuts. They're so good. How have you used Indigo protocol? I have not. So, you know, full disclosure, I don't use much DeFi anywhere, and not on Cardano either. I'm kind of waiting for the dust to settle through this bear market on all the different stable coins, and let's see what regulation is going to look like for them, and then also get some mileage underneath some of these new ones, because we went from like, you know, 0 to 3 stablecoins. Well, I guess USDA, Anzen, Emergo's stablecoin's not out yet, but we didn't have any. And then we got IUSD through Indigo and Djed through Cody Labs. So yeah, haven't used it yet. I'm waiting on that. But yeah, nothing against them. I know a lot of people that have used it that are having a great time there. So yeah. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and continue forward. And for those that are just joining now, Let me know where you're joining from. I think that's my favorite part. One of my favorite parts of the stream is knowing where people are joining from all around the world. Let me know where you're joining from and any questions that you have in between the last couple of topics that we have here. We will go ahead and answer those. So, next thing I wanted to dig into. It's funny. This was exactly 1 week ago. This reminds me a lot of the FTX thing, where I was trying to compile information and cover, a week at a time what was going on with the FTX stuff, and it was just like things were happening so fast that talking about it a week later almost felt like it was just like years later in crypto time. And the stuff going on with the banking sector worldwide right now feels exactly like that. This was only a week ago, and I was putting together the information for this week's weekly report. And now that we're talking about it, this just feels like so many things have happened past then. But for those of you that have been following, of course, I think at this point, everybody's heard about the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. But an important thing about this that I want to point out is that for those of you that may have missed this detail, you probably haven't, but just in case, FDIC, if you remember, in the United States, the FDIC only insures up to $250,000. So this whole thing happened over the weekend, and then coming into Monday, people were worried about what happens to all the deposits by companies and large depositors at Silicon Valley Bank that were over $250,000. And so federal regulators came out with an announcement on Sunday night leading into Monday that they were going to safeguard all deposits at Silicon Valley Bank, including money that isn't normally covered by the FDIC's insurance. So this was a big deal because it was a strong move by the Fed in consultation, also working with the White House and with some other folks. It was a big move by them to say, hey, this is fine, like let's all just calm down. Because if we really all think about it, all banks everywhere, since the beginning of, not maybe the beginning of time, but since the beginning of fractional reserves, are all just a game of confidence, right? There is no bank on the planet that could survive if everybody showed up to take all their funds out all at once. So since all banks are about confidence, the American government in several branches working together came together and said, hey, let's just calm everybody down and make sure that everybody at Silicon Valley Bank can get their deposits. If you've been following this since last week, this did calm things down for a little bit. But shortly after, there were the two other banks. The Signature Bank was the other one. But then just in the past couple of days, we've had a couple of new updates here. Make sure there's nothing else here I wanted to go over. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure everybody knew about this, because this is important, because this was sort of like the attempt to sort of slow this fire down and calm things down. But then on the other side of the world, this news just came out. I want to say this is just over the past couple of days, right? Yeah, this is from today. So this is saying how fast this has been going. I felt like this was like 2 or 3 days ago, and this literally was coming out last night and has been confirmed this morning that Credit Suisse, one of the biggest banks in Switzerland, after 167 years, their future is now in the hands of their Swiss rival, UBS. So UBS on Sunday, again, a lot of this stuff's been happening over the weekend. UBS agreed to buy Credit Suisse for more than $3 billion in a deal brokered by Swiss regulators. I did see something about this. Let's see if they have something. I didn't see it in this article, but let me know in the comments if you guys saw this. I saw that there was something about that when this was going on, that there was some kind of a special vote that had to happen in Switzerland to make this buyout even be legal. I'm not exactly sure what the conditions of that were, but even still, this is yet another example of, similar to what we were seeing here with the FDIC, of governments now across the world coming in and saying, okay, we need to make sure that we calm this down. We need to take dramatic action to make sure that things don't get out of control. And so whether or not there was some law actually changed or whatever else, the fact that there was even conversations about the Swiss government getting involved and being like, how do we make sure we can facilitate this to make this have as least amount of impact as possible, I think is very telling. And so then, additionally, just today, I saw this, and then I followed up on it. This tweet from FinTwit. This is not a cryptocurrency. This is First Republic, the 14th largest U.S. bank. Silicon Valley, I think, was number 16. So this one is even bigger than SVB. The 14th largest U.S. bank. This was tweeted just earlier today. Look at that chart there. I think it speaks for itself. So then I found this article from Reuters. First Republic shares tumble again as liquidity fears linger. If we look at this graph, I thought it was a really, really good graph by Reuters. We can see here their stock price held kind of steady and was sort of making its way down over this year. Here is where the SVB issue happened, and then I I guess there was people concerned that First Republic was in a similar situation, and their price started tanking. Here, I'm not sure if you guys heard about this. This happened all so quickly that, as a side note, a bunch of other large banks, what they started doing was getting together and creating sort of liquidity pools, kind of like how we talk about in DeFi, but liquidity pools between each other to make sure that they would each have enough money moving around to be able to pay out depositors and things like that if they needed to. So we see this little spike that happened here when the big banks injected 30 billion to First Republic, but it is increasingly looking like First Republic is in danger as well. So for all of these different things, Pixelate, yeah, it's and I think that this is kind of like, I'm glad that you jumped in there with some humor there, because I want to bring this all back around and say, when I made this video here about the Silicon Valley Bank collapse 9 days ago, and I was warning here about potential contagion, what I was getting at there, and what I think should continue to be our takeaway. Of course, this is not financial advice, but in my mind, this is just sort of common sense at this point. Where the markets globally, we're seeing this is not just an American problem anymore. This is now happening across the world. Markets globally are spooked right now, specifically when it comes to certainty and confidence in banks. And the way that I think this sort of most directly applies to us, all of us in Cardano or in broader blockchain spheres, is, I think most of us, honestly, like if you're watching this video, you probably don't have more than $250,000 in cash sitting in your bank, so you're probably fine. Even if you're in the United States, you're probably fine. If your bank goes under, you'll get your money back. But I think you'll get your money back. What I'm more concerned about, and what I think that you all should also keep in mind, is what this implies for general confidence of any kind of financial mechanisms at all. And so for me personally, I would say, if at this point, after everything we've seen with BlockFi and FTX and all these other things going on, Celsius, and now all this stuff going on with these banks, if you have any funds that are continuing to reside on any exchange, I would take those off. If you have any kind of custodial services that are managing your funds for you, I would take those off of there. Of course, like I always say, you want to make sure that you have your stuff on either a ledger or a Trezor. Where'd my Trezor go? Here we go. A ledger or a Trezor, and we have videos on how to set both of these up. Now, the reason that I say this, because you're thinking, okay, but we're talking about banks, so why are you bringing this into crypto? Because with the Silicon Valley Bank situation, Silicon Valley Bank, I forget what the percentage was, but it was like 60% of American startups were using SVB, and I think in like the Bay Area it was like 80%. I know that stat's almost certainly true. Like in the Bay Area, like 80% of startups were using SVB. So I'm more concerned about crypto companies that are now at an outsized risk, not even because they're in crypto, but just because they have money in a bank like anybody else. And so if like, what a lot of us have done, we're trying to opt out of the legacy financial system, and we are keeping our funds in our own hardware wallets or software wallets or wherever you keep them. I personally worry about any other projects that may have investors that have deposits in these banks, or if they have their own deposits in these banks, they might run into liquidity situations that have nothing to do with crypto and is much more of a pedestrian thing of just their dollars they can't access, or their euros or whatever else. So even if this feels like a little bit of a stretch to you, for me, I take this as this would be a great time to make sure that you are holding all of your stuff somewhere that's secure. And then, we have videos on all of this stuff. Let me just drop in here just so you guys have it. We have videos on how to set up your Trezor. Actually, you know what? I can probably just copy link address. So here's how you set up a Trezor Model T, if you're curious about that. That's how you set up a Trezor Model T. And let me grab for you the one for the Ledger Nano X. I think these kinds of situations are a great reminder that if it is not your keys, it's not your coins. And I'm just so far down this rabbit hole that I just I don't know. I just have most of, I just like holding on to my own stuff. And here's the Ledger Nano X. Cool. Yeah. great question, or a great point. So let's talk about that. So can you remind people that your crypto is not actually on your ledger? Yeah, totally. Chui chayote. That's a great point. Just remember that your funds are not actually on your hardware wallet. What's on your hardware wallet are the private keys. Well, let's take it one step back from that. Your funds are just a balance on a distributed ledger on the blockchain across the world that is maintained by all the nodes on every different blockchain, right? And one of those addresses has your balance designated to it. Now, the way to think about it is that if anybody wanted to move some of the funds from that address to another address, the blockchain that it's on would enforce that the signature for that transaction would need to be from the private key that corresponds to the public key of where that address resides. So what actually lives on your hardware wallets are just the private keys that correspond to the public keys of that address. So what you're really carrying around when you have your hardware wallet is just basically like as if it was like a keychain. You're basically carrying around like a USB stick, basically, of private keys to be able to sign transactions as you and move things around. The good thing with this is that if you were to lose your hardware wallet, you can use your recovery phrase. There's a blank one here, but your recovery phrase like this one for this Trezor. And then you can put your Trezor or your ledger into restore mode, type in your recovery phrase, and you can make an exact duplicate. But then again, like I always say, the downside to that is that if anybody were to get your recovery phrase, they can buy any ledger or Trezor, use your recovery phrase, get an exact copy of your keys, and then from there be able to send your funds from that address to anywhere they want. So while it is important, obviously, that you secure your hardware wallets, it's significantly more important that you secure your recovery phrases in somewhere that is safe, that nobody knows where it is, and that is ideally somewhere that is waterproof and fireproof in case of some kind of a natural disaster. So great point, Chewy. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah. Okay. Can we do a Flac Finance video, please? Or invite Ashish for an interview? Yeah, I actually know Ashish. He's a good dude. Ashish and I worked together on these videos here for Typhon. So for those who don't know, Flac Finance, yeah, I need to do a video on them. Flac Finance is putting together some DeFi work. I think they're specifically targeting India, but let me know if you guys know if they're focused on some other areas as well. I think that's where they're first going after. But it's a really great team. That's the Strica team, and it's a team behind Flac Finance, Typhon Wallet, which is one of my favorite wallets in the ecosystem. They're also the ones who made Typhon.js, which is responsible for the actual UI that you use on Ledger Live now to manage Cardano on Ledger Live. And I feel like I'm missing one more. Oh, and of course, and they're the team also that does Cardano scans. So they're a great team. Yeah, I'd love to have Ashish on sometime. Okay. Djed is being deployed to Binance. Oh, yeah. Accelerate. Good to see you again, by the way, man. Thank you for bringing that up. I actually just saw this. Actually, I just retweeted this. Let me see here. So this is what I was saying. If you're not following us on Twitter, you should be, because this is the kind of stuff. Here we go. Yeah, so there you go, Accelerate. I just retweeted this an hour ago. Djed is going to be on other chains, on Ethereum and Binance Smart Chains. And then and Shahaf Geffen says, because DeFi ecosystems need a stablecoin that is stable and reliable. Yeah, Djed has been performing really well through this sort of turbulent times that we've been seeing. And so they are now looking at going multi-chain and deploying on other chains as well. So good call, Accelerate. Thank you for pointing that out. Sweet. And I think before we move into our last topic of stuff, I always forget to say this. I think this is a good time that if you are enjoying the stream, go ahead and share this out, but please give it at least a like. Let us know in the comments down below what you'd like to see more of. But give it a like, share it out. Really appreciate that. So how are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing great. We're about half an hour in. I've got one more topic that I wanted to go over. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. But like I said, I'm trying to be good about keeping this relatively brief. So getting into our last piece of conversation here, Cardano node 135.6 is now out and available on the mainnet. Several pools have already upgraded. The big thing about 135.6 is the introduction of dynamic peer-to-peer, which is really cool. So let me show you here. Let's get a little bit of a technical discussion. If you remember, we've shown this diagram back in the day. The way that the Cardano network works in terms of core nodes and relay nodes. So you've got a pool like ours, like the ASPEN stake pool. We have, for example, our core node, the block producing node. There's the one that actually mints and validates blocks. That sort of sits behind some relays. Right here it shows 2. We actually have 4 relays. We have 2 in New York City, 1 in London, and 1 in Singapore. But the idea is that these relays are the ones that talk to each other and talk to the rest of the network. And then this core or block producer sits behind them and only talks to the relays. This is a security mechanism so that the only addresses that are public are those of your relays. So if anybody wanted to like make an attack, they would attack your relays, and your block producer is always safe. So that's kind of just like a heads up on a reminder of how the network works. Up till now, the way that relays have found each other is through a clever bit of engineering called a topology updater, which a community member put together. And basically, the way the topology updater works is that your relays reach out to a central point that someone's just hosting on a server. A bunch of them reach out. It kind of randomly grabs a bunch of them and then gives each people a list of, hey, here's some IP addresses that you can connect to. A really, really great thing put together by that community member. Pretty much all stake pools that I know of have been, there's almost like 3,000 of them. All of them have been using the topology updater now since pretty much the Shelley hard fork, since it went live. So like at least like 2 years at this point. So that's really cool. But what's been coming for a long time is the notion of true peer-to-peer. And the idea of peer-to-peer is that instead of it being sort of a static list that's given to you, there was this cool demo so that IOG put out. This is like a GIF, but it's kind of a short version of it. So let me show you this video that I have here that I grabbed when this came out first last year. So you can see here, the way that the peer-to-peer is going to work is that you can see that these little guys here, like this one here and this guy here, are basically, it's a visualization, and this is a real-time visualization, by the way. They were doing a visualization of the real peer-to-peer running. So this is not just like a graphic they put together. You can actually see the time ticking away as it's actually working. But you can see that little green guy bouncing around. That is what would be like the relay node for the ASPEN stake pool or any other pool, and it is dynamically connecting to all these different peers all over the world, all over the Cardano ecosystem, and it is on its own through this new protocol finding these different peers and constantly sending out the relay messages to these places all over the world. Really, really cool, because it is sort of the last step that remains in fully decentralizing the propagation of blocks and messages throughout the ecosystem. So that's really cool. So that is now available in 135.6, which is very, very exciting. There seems like there are some quirks I've been seeing here. Man, bunch of questions came in. I'll get to those in a second. There are some quirks that I was seeing here. This stake pool operator was saying that he was having a problem where his block producer was not able to connect to his relay after peer-to-peer was enabled. The folks at IOG are already on top of it, and we have some other people that are asking about trying to get more information. This reminds me a lot of like when we had that issue with, I think it was 135.4, how between the community and IOG it was really, really quickly turned around. So peer-to-peer is enabled, live and running on the main net. I think there's still some quirks to work out, but I have not heard any big issues with it yet. Personally, I'm going to wait on ASPEN until these quirks are worked out, but I have a high level of confidence that it will get figured out soon and that things are looking really good there. So really exciting stuff, because if you think about it, where we've come from, right, about 2 years ago when block production first started, right, I guess it's 2.5 years ago at this point, when block production first started, IOG was making the majority of the blocks, and then we have this video, if you remember from way back in the day, about D-Day. So you can find the D-Day video while I'm talking about this. But then over time, D went all the way down to 0, and IOG was no longer having like privileged block creation at all, and it was all being done by community stake pools. And so really all that was left at that point was then the only centralized part that was left was how the stake pools found each other. And even then, it was only centralized out of necessity through this community script that was put together. It wasn't managed by IOG, but still it was something that could have been like a little bit better. And so, where is my, man, this is such a long time ago. Puts it in perspective how long that's been. Here we go. D-Day, 2 years ago, was when D went to 0. Yeah, so 2 years ago, it was D went to 0. IOG wasn't making any of its own sort of like, they weren't having like special privilege to make blocks over anybody else. But since then, we've still been working with Topology Updater, so this is a huge step in terms of getting us to true decentralization, where It's kind of a cool concept if you think about it. You've got all these block producers all around the world, and they're now all just dynamically finding each other, while their relays are all dynamically finding each other. So really, really neat stuff. Looking forward to seeing this get resolved, but really excited that this is finally live and on mainnet. Okay, let's get to some questions. Oh, thanks, man. Love the Typhon Wallet videos. It's very, very cool of you. I appreciate that. Let's... what projects that are relatively small do you think will be interesting in the future? Like Cerberus, Cardano Beam, adaOHA. Yeah, I think adaOHA is really cool. I don't know much about it, but I know that Kyle and those dudes is the same dudes who do drip drops. And there's folks who are originally involved in Rare Bloom. Yeah, so they do all kinds of stuff in the ecosystem. adaOHA, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be like a marketplace for 3D printing. So that's kind of a cool thing. I don't know. I haven't really been following any like tiny projects. My main ones that I'm excited about right now, I really like adaHandle. I really like World Mobile. World Mobile, we're going to be doing a World Mobile Earth node. We've talked about that several times. That's on testnet right now. I'm waiting for that to go to mainnet. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Book.io. Again, full disclosure, I work for Book.io now. I'm a full stack engineer for Book.io, but I applied to work there because they are my favorite project on Cardano. So I'm a big fan of them. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just kind of waiting to see how some of these other ones play out. But yeah, let me know any projects you guys are excited about, and I'll look into them more. Flac Finance is a real-fi platform that seeks to provide regulated financial services to users in India and worldwide. Yeah, that's what I thought, that they were starting out with India. A real-fi platform that is faster, safer, and accessible to everybody. Cool. So, real-fi, by the way, corresponds to the idea of just like, it's like DeFi, but like actually really usable and connecting real people and working ideally with decentralized identifiers and DIDs to, again, be able to do selective disclosure about how much information. Pi is an unsung hero. I totally agree. I think Pi is great. And man, being CTO of Sunday Swap, they have taken some beatings over the years of people just getting super worked up and wanting to be mad at somebody. And Pi has always taken it with grace and a smile, and just killed people with kindness, and just always answered very politely, and always come with good faith to engage in conversations. I'm a big fan of Pi. I think he's a great guy. Liked and subscribed. Awesome. And then, like I said, you guys should also check out our Twitter account and follow us there. I'm trying to be better about letting people know about the Twitter account. Yeah, so join us on Twitter as well. All right. Where can you buy an ADA wallet address? Oh, I think Accelerate was somewhat, yeah, adaHandle. Yeah, so when you come to adaHandle, you literally just go to, it's just adaHandle.com. Yep, just go to adaHandle.com, and then and you can get it there. And then we also have a video. It's a bit old now. I'm waiting to do an updated video on adaHandle once personalization and subhandles come out. But this was before. Let me find this other adaHandle video. Come on. There was when they went live on. Here we go. So this is how to mint on mainnet. So this is the. This video is a little bit dated, but everything's still the same. It's just that like they've just streamlined some things since I made that video. But yeah, so you can check that out there. Peer-to-peer is fire. Yeah, it's super, super cool. Is Cardano now as decentralized as Bitcoin with this new dynamic peer-to-peer? So this is a thing that Charles talks about a lot. It depends on how you define decentralization. And that's actually why they kicked off the Edinburgh Decentralization Institute at the University of Edinburgh. And the idea is to have these things measured. Bitcoin, I mean, is well, the thing about Bitcoin is like, it is and it isn't, right? Like, it is very decentralized, but then again, like, there's been this pooling of miners, and now it's like in like a half dozen really big institutions. So again, it depends on how you rate and qualify decentralization. Any words on the Lace wallet? Yeah, we did a video on the Lace wallet here when they were still on testnet, and then actually I did also a follow-up, yeah, here when we were here. Check out this video. This is with the latest information. This is for Oscar. Lace wallet update. So I think Lace wallet has a lot of potential. That is IOG's light wallet solution. What I think is most exciting about it, aside from any bells and whistles that it comes with. What I'm most excited about for the Lace wallet specifically is that IOG is going to be using it as their testing ground for all the new features that they're going to roll out. So for example, we've all been waiting for partial delegation. Lace wallet intends on showing partial delegation as soon as it's ready, where you can delegate to multiple pools without having to make multiple accounts and stuff. And then also with Mithril, which we've talked about a lot on the channel, about being able to have full security of a full node, but doing it on a light wallet with the secure checkpoints. Lace wallet is going to be incorporating that as soon as it comes out as well. So that's what I'm excited about for Lace wallet, is to be able to see IOG's kind of like showcasing of its newest features built into its light wallet. But I think it still has a way to go. It's not even live on mainnet yet, actually. So they have a way to go still to get some of the kinks worked out. But, you know, I think it's a really good project. Okay, let's see here. Pixelated Dreams is a fan of Husky. Okay, do you think there'll be any special announcements at the Rare Evolution event? You want to remind... Oh, man, yes, thank you. Oh, God. So I was going to talk about this, and then I forgot. Thank you for reminding me. I guess we'll do it here. Okay. Everyone, if you want to meet up in person, I'm going to all the conferences this year, all the things. But if you want to meet up in person, come out to Rare Evo. Thank you, Network with Entrepreneurs Show, for reminding me. Rare Evo. Okay, this video is going to kill my poor computer's RAM, so I'm going to move away from that. Well, actually, let me do this. Let me see if I can go somewhere else here. Let's go to tickets. Buy tickets. Okay. I know that with my poor computer's RAM, that video running in the background is just going to just make it super laggy. But okay, so if you go to the buy tickets section here, you need to make an account first. And then when you go to buy your tickets, if you use code Woodland10 when you check out, you'll get 10% off of your ticket. Use code Woodland10 for 10% off. And so here's the thing. What I told the Rare Evo guys, they're really cool guys, Wes and Rand. What I told them was like, hey, listen, so let's do this. Let's make a code for Woodland pools. And then for all the affiliate funds that come in, instead of like giving me some kind of perks or whatever, I'm going to pool them all together. And then all the affiliate funds that we get, depending on how much it adds up to, I'm going to use that to help other people attend that weren't able to afford going. Or if it doesn't add up enough to get somebody to go for free, we'll do some other kind of giveaways for the community. So if you come to Rare Evo and you use code Woodland10, you get 10% off, and then you'll be helping other people attend. So yeah, why not? And coming out in warm, sunny Colorado. It's going to be August. Oh, man. I was going to mess up get me all laggy again. But prices go up on April 15th. It's August 23rd and 24th or something. I don't know. Here we go. Here we go. 24th through 26th in warm, sunny Colorado. Okay, sweet. Did you win anything? You win my thank you and approval. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with the Dana rewards for Ardana. I mean, obviously the Ardana project is done now. If you didn't know that, it's not a thing anymore. Yeah. Let me right? I mean, let me 1 second here. Make sure I'm not losing my mind here. Yeah. Ardana went under. Yeah, I want to make sure that I wasn't like when I was live and just misquoting something here, but yeah, no. So okay, cool. So with that, let's do this. Let's end with a little shout out to Rare Evo. So if you guys want to meet up, come out to Rare Evo. Come hang out in warm, sunny Colorado. Thanks everybody. Here we go. Yeah. Thanks everybody for coming out. This is fun as always. I'll probably start doing these more often. It seems like we had a good turnout this time and some good conversation and questions. For those following along on the replay, let me know down below what you think, if you prefer these longer form ones or the shorter edited videos, and we'll try and do a mix of both if anything. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming out. See if you can make it out to Rare Evo from the 24th to 26th of August. I'd love to see you in person. Have a great week, everybody, and if nothing else,